And again, as promised at 8 o'clock, I'm here with you live. Now, till I get some indication that people have arrived, I will just talk of small things here and there. And once people start coming, then after that, we'll get back to the uh, actual agenda of the live thing. Yes, I can see that Shashi has come, and there is one other which I can't see the name, but good. Vishwanath Singh joined, Netra Ganesan joined, fine. So it means I'm in time, and all of you people are also on time. Welcome here. Now, Vikas Kumawat, good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. My first question to all of you today is from tomorrow, 2 weeks of relaxation or 2 weeks of boredom? Because as you are aware that we were anticipating the lockdown to finish today, and that is the reason this FB Live was kept today evening. But as the government of India has decided that we are going to have lockdown for another 2 weeks of time. Now, so that's what my question was: 2 weeks of relaxation or 2 weeks of boredom? Uh, if you put some reply on that in your message, then I will see that who is getting bored and who is feeling relaxed. Yeah, tell me. More relaxation, more boredom. Nobody wants to commit, it seems. So nobody is saying whether it will be boredom or whether it will be relaxation. I can't see any reply except no good evening and hello and everybody. But my question, nobody is answering whether this is going to be next 2 weeks of relaxation or next 2 weeks of boredom. Okay. So I assume that you are not interested in replying to this direct question. So let's come back to the agenda points. And as discussed, we had talked about. Okay, now I can see something. Good evening. Okay, Netra Ganesh and work and relaxing both. Fine. Okay, I can see Neelam also, Mahesh Kumawat. Everybody is here. Great. So I think we've got enough people to start with, and let us start talking about what was the original agenda and what is the heading of this also. That discussions on personal growth. Now, what exactly when we talk about personal growth? Personal growth depends upon person to person. For some people, the growth may include money. For some, it may include popularity. For some, it may include knowledge. And there are different types of personal growth people are looking for. And I have very rarely seen anybody who is interested in complete personal growth in all the parts of the life, which means that are you really balanced in your growth plan? When you talk that I want to grow, are you really talking about your career or money or your relationship or your physical health or your mental attitude or your spiritual growth? Now, most of the time our growth are skewed, which means that somebody is very, very interested in money, somebody is very, very interested in the prestige or the power or a position, etc., etc. But they may not be bothered about that, the health part, but they may not be bothered about the mental peace or the spiritual growth. How do we deal with others? Because in any thing in life, and it's same so in the personal growth also, there are two aspects involved. The first aspect is we, and the second aspect is what? It is the others. This others can be an individual, it can be a situation, it can be an organization. So it's always a tussle, it's a relationship when you are talking of growth between you and what you consider at other, because uh, you will realize that we don't consider those people as our own, because if we consider everybody as our own, there will be no conflict in life. But we don't consider everybody as our own. We consider that yes, this is me and this is somebody else, and now my growth, we have to take this growth had to take place uh, vis-a-vis or in against this particular organization or individual or situation, etc. Now, when we are talking of uh, the growth part, what do you feel is necessary for the growth? Or do you feel that you are okay, or you are sufficient enough to grow yourself, or you feel that somebody is uh, some other persons or some other what should I say, issues or some other points also are responsible or needed for your growth. Because most of the time, when people try to grow something and they don't grow to the extent which they had tried to be, very rarely I've seen somebody taking personal responsibility and saying that, okay, I did not do this particular thing well, so I failed. Most of the times I've seen people talking about that, what can I do? My English is not good. Uh, I did not do very well in in my childhood. I'm not very intelligent. My father is not very rich, and all those things, which basically puts the responsibility on something else other than you. I'm sure all of you will agree that very rarely somebody takes the total responsibility for their failures. Because the day you take total responsibility for your failures, let me tell you, you will not be a failure from next day onwards. Because once you start taking responsibility of your life, there is no power on the earth which can stop your growth. But we all have this tendency of passing on our failure to somebody else that, my senior was like this and my junior was like this. So let's get into the more detail. When we say that my growth, uh, first thing is when you say my, do you understand yourself? What exactly you are looking for? Are your dreams very clear? Or are you making dreams as per what the society wants people to make dreams of your age and your educational qualification, etc.? Are your dreams really your own dreams? Or these are the dreams which are given by your friends or peers or your teachers or your parents? Or no, you saw in the society and then you felt that this is my dream. Because if you decide a dream based on what others feel that this should be your dream, first thing is you will not be putting your heart and soul in that, and second thing is even if you get those dreams, you are not going to be extremely happy. Now, if you see, these are the posts which in the lockdown 2, basically what I'll read a couple of them, not all. Basically, if you can remember the post, it was more about what you can do to yourself, and it was the non-dependence of your growth on others. Now, which means that today, when you take a decision that, okay, I'm going to grow, there's no power in the world which can stop it. But will you take this responsibility, or will you get back to your normal excuses that, I tried to do this particular thing, but my team was not good, my seniors were not supporting me, my juniors were not supporting me, or I lack this qualification, or I lack this skill, etc., etc. Or you take the total responsibility. When you take the total responsibility, uh, how do you take total responsibility? Naturally there has to be a datum on which you say, okay, today I take responsibility, and in that taking the responsibility there are something which is implied. The first thing which is implied is that you will not take an excuse that I lack here, I lack there, I don't have this qualification, I don't have this money, I don't have that experience, etc., etc. Because the moment you start not accepting yourself, so if you're not accepting yourself, how you will accept your commitment? You'll be looking for excuses for not meeting your commitment, not meeting your dreams, etc. So first thing which comes here is, do you understand yourself and do you accept yourself? If you understand yourself and if you accept yourself, then actually the path becomes very, very easy. Because once you have accepted that whatever I am, this is the base point from where I'm committing to my personal growth, whether this growth is for the money or for the health or for the prestige or for the popularity or whatever maybe your goals might be there. But your personal growth goals become extremely easy when you take the responsibility that today I accept what I am, and from today I'll be basically enhancing on whatever I have. Now, how do you enhance things? How do you better yourself? All of you, I'm very sure you would have realized that your emotions, your feelings, they play a great role in your day-to-day activity and in your doing something good or doing something bad. Because most of the times people they react in a particular fashion and then they realize that no, I should not have acted like that. Which means that your feelings and your emotions can sometimes go out of your control, and that is one of the most important thing you have to keep it in mind for your personal growth, that your emotions, if it starts going out of your control, you actually are not in your own control. And if you are not in your own control, then how can you commit to your own commitments? Now, from where the emotions actually come, we will have to start looking into the arrival of the emotions, of the feeling in our heart. From where the emotions arise? When do you feel happy? When do you feel sad? Unless you're watching a movie or unless you've gone to a tourist spot, etc., which are more visual, most of the time it is our own activities. Those are the daily activities, the activities of our listening to somebody, our talking to somebody, our not our sticking to a particular point that no, what I'm telling is right. These are the things which basically control your emotions and feeling. And the basically the talk which you are having with in a conversation. Let us talk of two people. How the mood goes bad and how you get angry and how do you spoil, because if that person is something with whom you are talking something constructive, something productive, naturally the conversation should not go in a wrong direction. But what happens if that person tells you something which you don't like? How do you react? How do you respond to that? Now there is a very I think in one of the posts I said that the gap between the stimulus and response basically decides and shapes your life. Now let's start. Let's focus on this, in a bit more. What is the stimulus and what is the response? Stimulus is something which your senses are sensing, and it is creating. It is stimulating your senses, and you are supposed to respond to that because first thing is if you don't respond, that is great. But any stimulus, if you are supposed to respond to that, how do you respond depends upon this particular gap, because this gap you can decide to go either in this direction or that direction or no direction. If you can control your gap, if you have a control on the gap between the stimulus and response, the chances of your growth becomes extremely positive. But most of the time we respond immediately. The moment the stimulus finishes, we respond, and then we realize after maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes or maybe after half an hour or a day that no, I should not have behaved like that. And by that time the damage is already done. Now these damage are basically again coming from where? They are coming from your mouth, because what you speak is what makes the situation good or bad. Now your speech is fully under your control. Because even if your speech also is not under your control, then what is under your control? If your listening is not under your control, if your thinking is not under your control, if your speaking is not under your control, then what is under your control, and how do you expect yourself to grow if nothing in your own life is under your own control? Which means that if you want to grow in life, these are the three or four things which you do almost every day. You have to have a solid control on that. And these are the four things which are your thinking, your talking, your listening, and your attitude. And the most important thing is what are you focusing on? Because what are you focusing on will decide your response. The stimulus can be anything, but if in the same stimuli, if you're focusing on something which helps you or which harms you, then your response varies accordingly. Now, when we talk of the self, there are certain things which we have to look into. Okay, so first thing which you have to start now, because we are talking about the growth from today. You have to have a very detailed view of your perceived reality. Why I'm talking of perceived reality and not reality is that all of us, we look at our reality from an angle which most of the time is not correct. But that is our viewpoint. That is our seemed reality, that I am good, I am bad, I am very bright in this, I'm not very bright in that, etc. These are basically the assumptions which you make, and that is your perceived reality, which may not have any relations to the actual reality. But your perceived reality you must finalize, and then from there you have to have that, okay, from here, where do I want to go? Because when you say I want to grow, you want to grow in what? I mean, is there any figure? Is there any goal set? Is there any measuring tape or something which can decide whether you have grown or not? Because you just can't say that, "No, I want to grow," and somebody asks, okay, how much you want to grow, and you say no clue. If you don't have any clue that in what you want to grow, naturally you're not going to grow. Which means that you have to have a very clear cut idea of what your growth means, which means that it has to be written somewhere. You may be 30, you may be 40, you may be 50, whatever age you are. But at the age of 60, exactly what you would like to do or what you would like to be. It's not a question of doing, because the doing comes in between. What you would like to be at the age of 60. When you say that, okay, I've lived my life and retirement time, what will make you accept whether you have succeeded or whether you have not succeeded in your goals? Unless there is something which is very, very concrete, which is very, very easily to refer, etc., you will not be able to uh, measure your own growth at all. Okay, so all the things which we are talking as of now is about you. Now the second thing comes in the picture, that a lot of us, we have this tendency to talk about others' great role in making or breaking our life. We say that, we were doing very fine, but my boss came day one day, and he shouted at me, and I felt so distressed after that, that I lost all my interest in working. Even if it is a fact, even if it is a fact, who actually lost interest in the work? Your boss left or you left? When you have left, what is happening to your growth? Don't you feel that it is an excuse when you say that, because of so and so, I was demotivated? When you were demotivated, nobody else is demotivating you except you. When you know that you are getting demotivated because of something or because of lack of something, etc., how does your goal come in the picture, and what is your commitment towards your goal? If you get demotivated, don't you think that you have to put in on effort to motivate yourself? In that you might need somebody's help, etc. In that I know you can find out somebody who is very positive minded, who can mentor you, who can tell you what to do, what not to do, and whether it is a senior or a junior or a friend or a family, even wife or husband, it is immaterial. But every time there is a demotivation, you are the one who are supposed to push yourself up. You can't keep on saying that, no, I'm feeling very depressed. Okay, fine enough. Now, first thing is, if you don't tell that you are depressed, then how anybody will know you are depressed? Maybe you will feel that because I'm not speaking, I'm sulking, people will understand that I am depressed. But finally, what you are doing to your own growth? Naturally, when you are depressed, you're not going to grow. And have you got a commitment with your growth, or you are just saying that I want to grow? Because if you got a commitment with your growth, you will somehow get the strength, get the energy to come out of the depression on your own by finding out props and support from your friends and families and books, or your prayer or your puja or whatever it is. Because then you will be able to overcome that particular depression. Now, one or two more things about when we talk about okay. Now let me ask you, because one of the posts which I also put in was listen to understand. This is a very important thing, because whatever your assumptions are about your relationship or discussion with somebody talking, and you are listening. Now, when you listen, how deeply you listen. When I say how deeply you listen, basically means that what is your intent to listen? Think on this again. When you are listening, what is your intent to listen? Is the intent to listen is to learn something? or to show that I don't know less than you, and whatever you are saying, I already know, and I have my own viewpoint, which is different than yours, and hence I am correct and you are wrong. Okay. So if your intent to listen is not of learning, but trying to show that you also have similar knowledge or maybe even greater knowledge, etc., there is no growth possible. I'll tell you a simple story. I think maybe most of you would have heard also that a king, he was very very knowledgeable also, and he wanted to know more and more, etc. And somebody told him that there is a saint, there is a Guruji in the jungle, who is a great saint, and he can definitely teach you more than what you know. And since you're keen learner, why don't you go and meet the saint? And the king, he went there and he sent, of course, the information that the king is coming and he would like to meet the guru. And the guru was there sitting, in his house, uh, whatever hut or whatever it was. And the king reached there and he sat and he said, Guru, I want to learn something from you. And I know this and I know that, I've read Gita, Mahabharata, or whatever scriptures he wanted to talk about. And the guru kept on listening to him and said, okay, fine enough. So we'll start, but let's have a cup of tea first. And the king thought that, okay, fine, now let's have a cup of tea, and after that we'll start discussing. So when the tea came in a jug, and of course there were two cups and saucers. And the guru took the jug and he started pouring tea in king's cup. And slowly the cup was filling, and then the cup spilled, and the tea came on the saucer, and then the guru kept on pouring more and more tea, and finally it overspilled from the saucer also. And then the king said that, what are you doing? I mean, can't you see that the plate is also full, the cup was already full, and you keep on pouring more and things in the tea. What exactly, you have no sense that what you're doing? And then the guru said to king that, Rajan, no, I just wanted to show you that you are so full of your knowledge that I can't put any more knowledge in your mind. This is what happens when we listen. Very rarely, we listen with an intent to listen. Most of the time, we listen with the sort of show off that I am not knowing less than you, and if you can tell something, I also know what I am talking about, and in that there is no learning, and that is a great disservice to your personal growth path. This I have been seeing in society also, in my own company also, because when I talk, and it's not that only I know, everybody else knows, but whether you have the intent to listen or not, or whether you are sorry, or whether you are already assume that what I am going to say, or you already have started finalizing an answer to what I am saying, you are actually missing my words. You are actually missing the content of my speech, and you are missing the intent of my speech also. Because the speaker also has an intent, and the listener also has an intent. If you are not able to listen perfectly, let me tell you that no amount of anything can grow you. So the first and foremost important thing in the stages of learning on the path of personal growth is listening. And if you can start learning very, very faithfully, very, very sincerely, half of your task is no, is over. Talking, again, you have to talk respectfully, whether it is a junior or a senior. These things, they look very very simple, but let me assure you that these are what changes your life, because these are basically your attitudinal changes. When you start talking respectfully to everybody, you actually start respecting people, because you cannot talk respectfully unless you value somebody else, whether it is a junior or a senior or whether it's a stranger. Leave aside senior or junior, whether it is stranger, because then respecting others. I remember it is there in our companies, values, respect for all. But every day I see in the company, the respect for all is more for the sake of just being put in writing in the big block letters, in a framed space. We don't really have respect for most of the people, including the seniors. Okay, juniors, in any case, we have absolutely no respect, in this country, because we don't have the dignity of labor. We feel that anybody who's working under me is supposed to be my servant, and I can do anything to them. I can talk anything to them, and there is absolutely no dignity given. There is no respect given, and that is again a very, very bad sign for your growth. Now, the last thing which is extremely important, and in fact, without that, you can't grow much. So, in fact, there are two, not one, there are two, but the last one is so obvious that I'll take it just for a small time. But what I'm telling you now, very, very important for your growth is the trust. Now, when I say trust, most of the people, especially in this country, will say that nobody can be trusted. Everybody has become so untrustworthy that I don't know how I can trust anybody. And that actually shows not the other's frame of mind, that actually shows your frame of mind, because you do not accept that you are trustworthy. When we tell somebody else that, I can't trust people, it simply means that you can't trust yourself. Because if you can trust yourself, trusting others becomes very easy. Because in the situation you will decide that, okay, if I can commit to my whatever commitment I have given, and there is no need for people not to trust me. And if I can be trusted without any doubt, why this person who just like me can't be trusted? But we don't, and since we don't have any trust in ourselves, because we are ourselves manipulating people, exploiting people, we have our own hidden agenda, etc., which we don't bring it to the surface, but which is there inside our mind, because most of the time we are manipulating people. We are not interested in them. We are so selfish that very rarely we think about others in a way in which you have absolutely no benefit. Most of the time our activities are linked to that. In this conversation, in this relationship, what am I getting? What does it mean? It means that you are not trustworthy, because you have an agenda, you have something, we got hidden motives. And similarly, if that second other person also a hidden motive, naturally, you people can't trust with each other. But if you have no hidden motive, it is very simple to trust. And okay, let me just finish, and after that I can see a long thing from Aryan Anand, which I'll talk. Okay, so the trust is something which you have to build on. You have to keep on building trust uh, till the trust gets inside everybody. You build the trust. No, you trust somebody and it fails, and then you can't say that no, from tomorrow I will not trust anymore. People will keep on breaking your trust. Okay, once, twice, thrice, keep on trusting them. If you can't do that, let me tell you, you're not growing at all. Because in the growth, I think we'll be going a bit more extra, but I think that nobody should mind that, or nobody would mind that, because I am talking of something which is very, very important to my heart, and which is something which most of the people may find that in the present scenario, when people say Kalyug mein ye nahi hota hai, wo nahi hota hai, and all those things. But let me tell you, you cannot grow in your life, even materially, spiritually, in any field, unless you are a good person. And the good person definition has not changed in the last 2000 years. It talks about your sincerity, talks about your integrity, talks about your honesty. Now, if you feel that I need not be honest, but I can be smart enough to hoodwink everybody, etc., your growth is truncated. It is not a growth which is actually called a growth. I mean, it is just like cheating. Now, I'm very sure that at least people who have joined Shambhala will not be interested in growth on the on the head of somebody else. My idea of creating Shambhala here is to have like-minded people who are there to support each other, so that everybody grows. And we will be talking about that soon, maybe after a month or so, that what exactly some Shambhala people will have to do to grow this community more and more. Okay, coming back to the trust. Trust is something which is as important as your breathing if you want to grow. Without trust, you cannot grow. And with that, I will come back to the last but the most obvious thing is the gratitude. If you do not have the gratitude, again the growth is not possible. Irrespective of whatever little you have, get into your mind that you have to be grateful. Because if you are alive, you have to be grateful. Whether you have got corona or whether you have got cancer, etc. If you are alive, you have to be grateful because you still have life inside you. The only time when you can be ungrateful is when you die, because you are already out of this particular world. Okay, let me see. Aryan says, what should be our deed if we have started to work on our growth but have not closed some initial settlement, which is money, etc. That is basic to go on that particular path. So I'm curious and very eager to do social work, but I'm not that capable. Okay. Now, a lot of people have this particular thing that, I want to do social work, but, I don't have anything. I don't have money, and how can I do social work? Social work has nothing to do with the money which you have or you don't have. Social work is what? Making the society a better place. How do you make the society a better place? Smile at people, talk to them nicely, listen to them nicely, treat them nicely, help whomever you can. And I'm talking of the help not related to the money. I'm talking to the help, somebody is standing there, some old person, trying to pick up heavy bags. Go and, pick up the bag for him, put it in the car or the scooter, or maybe walk him with him or her for 10 yards, 20 yards, etc. From where we are getting this idea that social work is only when you physically give something to somebody. That, yes, that is also social work. I'm not saying that is not a social work, but that is not the only social work. If you want to do something, whether you have money or not, if you can't smile also, can you pray for the people? Can you pray for the people who are downtrodden? The huge amount of laborers, they are walking on the road for thousands of kilometers right now. Some people, they are dying by before they reach their houses, etc. You're praying for them itself is a social work. Now, unless you understand that social work has got a very vast definition, don't get into the narrow definition. And again, this excuse that I don't have money, what can I do? Uh, what stops you in praying half an hour every day morning when you're doing meditation or when you're physics? Why can't you, you pray to the God or whomever, whatever you believe in, that okay, the problem of these people should be reduced. That's all. See, that is how it goes. When you focus on what you cannot do, you're basically looking for excuses. When you are doing whatever you can, even if it is very little, that still makes the thing very easy on your path of growth. Now, we are already crossed 2 minutes and I don't see any further more questions. Let me see if more questions are there. No, I don't think it is more of coding and relaxation and this, that. Uh, Anybody else has any question? Uh, because if you have a question, I'll wait for a couple of minutes. And I again will expect all of you to tell me now, since courtesy government of India, the lockdown 3 has started. Now, what exactly we do in the next 2 weeks of time? Do we maintain the same thing, or there is something which will be more interesting to you, or which you would prefer rather than having a daily post and a weekly talk? Whatever you may feel, please suggest to me. And even if you're not able to suggest it now, please suggest it on the group post, and I'll see the ball and I'll get back to you accordingly. Thank you very much for a lovely evening, and I enjoyed the discussion, and I hope that you people also have enjoyed the discussion. And I wish 2 more weeks of growth and self-introspection and gaining knowledge in whatever field you are interested in. Thank you very much. Okay, bye bye.